Imagine what will happen when the sun explodes tomorrow. It will destroy us all, not only us, but the whole universe, and kill every living thing that exists in the vicinity of it. That huge ball of plasma at the center of our solar system, that blazingly hot star that gives us heat and energy and is basically the major source of all forms of life, any way you look at it, it's a time bomb about to go off. It's almost a perfect ball of plasma, and the nuclear fusion going on at its center is heating it up to the point where it glows. Most of this energy comes from the sun in the form of light, ultraviolet, and infrared rays. The sun is also the main source of energy for all life on Earth. The sun is about 695,000 kilometers across, which is about 432,000 miles and 109 times the size of Earth. It has about 330,000 times as much mass as Earth, and it makes up about 99.86% of the total mass of the solar system. About 73% of the sun's mass is made up of hydrogen. Most of the rest is made up of helium, 25%, with much smaller amounts of heavier elements like oxygen, carbon, neon, and iron. The most common element in the solar system is hydrogen. The sun is called a G-type main sequence star, or G2V. Because of this, it is sometimes called a yellow dwarf, though this is not always correct. Its light is actually white. It was made when part of a huge cloud of molecules collapsed under the force of gravity. Most of this matter moved toward the center, and what was left was squashed into an orbiting disk that became the solar system. Since the center of the central mass had reached such a high temperature and density, it eventually fused together. It's thought that this process is where almost all stars came from. In just 1 second, the center of the sun changes over 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium, turning 4 million tons of matter into energy. This energy comes from the sun's core and gives it light and heat. It can take between 10,000 and 170,000 years for this energy to reach the surface. The sun will no longer be in hydrostatic equilibrium when the process of hydrogen fusion in its core slows down to the point where it's no longer possible. At this point, the sun's core will get much denser and hotter, while its outer layers will get bigger. This will cause the sun to eventually turn into a red giant. In about 5 billion years, the sun will have grown so big that it will be able to swallow up the orbits of Mercury and Venus, making Earth uninhabitable. This event will not happen though. After this, it will lose its outer layers and turn into a white dwarf, which is a type of cool, dense star. A white dwarf doesn't make energy through fusion anymore, but the energy it made when it was fusing is still making it glow and give off heat. People have known since the beginning of time that the sun has a big effect on Earth. In some cultures, the sun was worshipped as if it were a god. Several kinds of solar calendars take into account both the Earth's synodic rotation and its path around the sun. The most common calendar used today is the Gregorian calendar, which dates back to the 16th century and is based on the idea that the movement of the sun can be seen as real movement. It is thought that the sun is about 10 billion years old. Scientists think it will last for around 5 billion years longer though. The sun will then grow to the size of a red giant and keep going. After that, it will start to lose mass and turn into a white dwarf, which is a dead star that will spend the next few billion years cooling down. We'll all be dead by then, so none of us will be around to see any of that happen. To put that in perspective, can you even imagine what it would be like to see the sun explode right in front of your eyes? With a name like supernova, you might think that a solar explosion would be the most spectacular fireworks show that anyone has ever seen. But in reality, you are very unlikely to see anything at all. About 150 million kilometers or 93 million miles separate the sun and Earth, and it takes about 8 minutes for light from the sun to reach us. Even though that seems like a long way off, we really don't have a chance in a supernova. Earth would have to be at least 50 to 100 light years away from a supernova to keep it safe from its terrible effects. The good news is that even if the sun blew up tomorrow, the resulting shockwave wouldn't be strong enough to wipe out everyone on Earth. Only the side facing the sun would completely evaporate in 1 second. The other half of people would always be in the dark and have to deal with a rise in temperature that would be 15 times higher than the current temperature of the sun's surface. And because the sun's mass is what keeps us in orbit around it, without it, we'd probably start to drift out into space while the people who are still alive on Earth try desperately to stay alive. There is a chance that our planet could move into a stable orbit around another star, which might give off as much light and heat as the sun, but we would all be long gone by the time something like that happened. If we knew when the sun was going to explode, we might be able to buy ourselves as much as 1,000 years more time, but this would only work if we had the resources to keep living for that long. A few meters below the ground you walk on, the temperature of the Earth is about 17 degrees Celsius or 62 degrees Fahrenheit. So, if we had enough time to get ready, civilization could keep going by moving underground into a huge network of hardened bunkers. It would take a lot of time to do this. Within a week of the explosion, the temperature of the Earth's surface would drop below 0 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 18 degrees Celsius. Temperatures would drop to almost negative 73 degrees Celsius in a year or negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, ice would start to form on the surface of the ocean and move down. In the next 1,000 years, the Earth's atmosphere will freeze and fall apart, leaving whatever's still on the surface vulnerable to cosmic radiation and meteor strikes. But I really hope that by then, we will have found a new place to live. Even if the sun erupted, which it will eventually do, it wouldn't happen all at once. The sun will die in a long, slow, and hard process that will take billions of years. The sun will get hotter and brighter, and it will also start to grow bigger. During this process, it will shed its outer layers into space, which will lead to the birth of new stars and planets in a way that is similar to how our planet Earth was made after a huge explosion. Who really knows? Maybe there will be new kinds of life. Do you think there could be another Earth? A new kind of creature that looks like people? It's hard to guess what our galaxy might look like billions of years from now, and it's even harder to imagine our solar system without the massive golden sun that holds everything together. But one day, in the very, very distant future, the sun will grow bigger and then get smaller. This could make room for a new star to move in. This will happen in a very, very long time from now. And if, for some crazy reason, people were to live to that time, where would they be living? Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.